Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about a weird one, but a good one. Simon, King of the Witches. This one is pretty different, pretty unique from, almost everything else I've seen, which I love when that happens. It was directed by Bruce Kessler, the race car driver turned director. Uh, he was friends with James Dean and was the last person to talk to James Dean before James Dean died in a car crash. They were supposed to go out for dinner, I think, and then James Dean died on the way to the dinner. Bruce Kessler himself only raced, I think, in 1958 professionally, and then he got into a car crash himself, and so he retired in 1959. And then he became a director, and he directed a bunch of TV shows, or episodes of TV shows, I should say. And then he started directing movies. Oops, so that's his first movie, Angels from Hell. This was a good biker gang movie. I guess it makes sense that he would direct a fast-paced movie since he was a racer. Angels from Hell. Now, biker gang movies got a little popular, I guess, in the 50s, and then had a big boom in the late 60s. So this came out in 1968, which I think was like a year or two after this wave of biker gang movies hit. Also, I'm pretty sure the Hays Code, which imposed strong censorship on all American movies, ended in 1968. So this is like one of the first movies that we get to see where there's not really that much censorship and a lot of crazy stuff happens in this movie. Basically, the premise is that this guy comes back home, I think, after getting out of prison, and all his friends are in a biker gang, and he basically wants to start his own biker gang and takes all his friends with him, while the president of that gang doesn't like that very much, ends up fighting the main character, who was played by Tom Stern, and Tom Stern beats the crap out of the guy and then sticks his leg up on a cinder block or something and then breaks his knee in. And that was just the very beginning of the movie, and the whole thing is crazy. So that was a good one. In fact, it was so good that it made me want to watch a whole bunch of these late 60s biker gang movies, which I know like Al Adamson did a few, Roger Corman did a few, and a guy who plays the police sergeant in this movie, let's see, what's his name? Jack Starrett. He actually directed more than he acted. So he did some too. So I'm going to watch some more of those. Then after this, Bruce Kessler in the same year did this movie, Killers 3. Now this one I actually didn't think was very good. Basically about a moonshiner in North Carolina who hooks up with this other guy. The other guy is played by Dick Clark, who became a pretty big celebrity later in his life. And the two of them blow up a safe, and then they're on the run. I think they stole whatever was in the safe. They're on the run from the authorities. It was actually pretty boring except for the action scenes. Like the acting in between, the story in between the action scenes was not great. Although there was a scene where the moonshiners get found out by the authorities, and the main character, who I think was played by Robert Walker, goes over to a tree in the middle of the forest, and there's a bunch of grenades hanging from the tree, and he just throws grenades at all the police. That part was cool. All right, so after Killers 3, then Bruce Kessler switched gears off the crime and went and did this somewhat strange comedy, or maybe it's just strange to me, but this is called The Gay Deceivers, about two kids, or not kids, but guys in their 20s, I think, early 20s, who pretend to be gay in order to avoid getting drafted into the Vietnam War. I'm not a huge comedy guy, but this was good. Um, I don't know if you can see, but there's Jack Starrett there, who was the police sergeant in Angels from Hell, and he's an army recruiter in this movie. And in the whole movie, he's like snooping on these guys to see if they're really gay or not. Pretty funny. Not too deep of a movie, but pretty funny. All right, and then the fourth film Bruce Kessler did was this, Simon, King of the Witches. Now, this movie starts out real strong. The first line in the movie is Simon saying, "Hi, I'm Simon, and I live in a storm drain." So it's about a guy who is he refers to himself as a real magician. He's a witch or a warlock, male witch, and he lives in a storm drain in Los Angeles. And he is trying to become a god. He believes in the Greek gods, the ancient Greek gods, and he is trying to become one and has this plan where if he does a few things and performs certain rituals, then he can pass through into another realm where the gods live. Now, unlike a lot of the movies of this era that deal with witches, in this film, the magic and the supernatural is real. So there's a lot of witch movies from the early 70s where people are accused of being a witch and you may or may not know if they're really a witch, and then in the end it turns out like either someone was just crazy or someone was just accusing them. There's no real witchcraft. Well, in this one, there's real witchcraft. Simon puts curses on people. Simon is able to see into the future sometimes, depending on what he's doing. And he has to build up this tool with sexual energy, controlled sexual energy, and then he can use it to pass through into the God's realm. Now, it takes a lot of effort. There's these other characters that he runs into. He meets this gay prostitute who's not gay. In other words, it is a straight man who has sex with men for money, but actually only prefers women. He meets up with that guy. That guy introduces him to this guy named Hercules, which is interesting because Simon believes in the Greek gods, and Hercules is from the Roman adaptation of the story, the Greek story of Heracles, and so Simon makes that connection. He works with Heracles, also kind of gets involved with a girl whose father is works for the authorities in a sense that he cracks down on drug dealers, and at one point Simon gets framed for being a drug dealer. And then the real drug dealers of LA come and try and get his help because now all these drug dealers are getting cracked down upon. It's a pretty interesting winding story. There's also a scene where Simon is introduced to a coven of witches that he does not like because they are practicing what seems to be... Now, I think they said they're Wiccan, but there seems to be satanic imagery in their ceremony, and Simon does not believe in the Judeo-Christian mythology. He doesn't believe in this Satan or Jesus Christ or that kind of thing. He believes in the ancient Greek gods, and he actually criticizes them and actually gets a push broom and says, "Why don't you start flying around on one of these?" Because he's basically saying they're fake. The lead witch in that scene was played by Ultraviolet, who was an artist who was colleagues and friends with Salvador Dali and Andy Warhol. So that was kind of interesting. Overall, I'll give this an 8 out of 10. I was thinking it was going to be a 9, but the last 20 minutes kind of like fell apart for me. They got really weird. Simon steps into a mirror and all this weird like optical illusion stuff happens. It was hard for me to hold on to it. And the ending, Although it doesn't lose points for this, but the ending made me unhappy. I'll just say that. I didn't like how it ended. Well, it was an unexpected ending, which in a way is good. It was not predictable, but I was not happy with how it ended. So I give it an 8 out of 10. I would definitely watch this one. If you're watching this video in the, around the time it's put up, this movie is available legally for free on Tubi. Tubi is one of my favorite streaming apps. So you can get Tubi for free and watch Simon, King of the Witches. I don't think Bruce Kessler did another horror film for a while, but he's going to show up again later. He went back to TV. He only did technically 8 films altogether, but I think 2 of them were actually made for TV and not theatrical releases like this one. But I would say this one and Angels from Hell are definitely worth a watch. All right, see you next time.